Hello, Gay Milwaukee. Before we begin, this episode was filmed about a week ago, before the March on Washington, D.C., and the Jacob Blake tragedy, and the killings in Kenosha. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in this moment. With that said, let's begin the episode.
Hello, Gay Milwaukee. On today's episode, we have a very special guest, health and equity advocate, Milwaukee's very own Elle Halo. How are you today?
Yeah, y'all know it.
Oh, great. This is a social distancing episode.
But you know, we adhering to the social distancing. I'm here for it.
So you've been up to so many things. Every time I turn around, you're doing a new project, advocating for something new, and so many different people. What are you up to now?
Right at this moment, what I'm most up to is me and some other wonderful Black trans women here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, joined together to form the Black Rose Initiative, and we are planning a trip to the National Action Network's Commitment March in DC, which will be it's called Get Off Our Necks, and it's both a Black Lives Matter protest statement, but also on the 57th anniversary of the Million Man March on Washington, and a bit of a recreation of it. So
Yeah, you and the girls have really been supporting each other's visions, haven't you? And you guys have all been supporting the Black community and the LGBT community and the trans community just very heavily, and you've been doing the damn thing, haven't you?
Thank you. I tried. Thank you. I personally tried to, especially after the Pride March, just be and remain as active as I could be. For my personal sake and safety, I tried to space those things out with doing in-person events and gatherings and doing things online. And so I've had some great opportunities, both in person and online, to continue advocating. You know what I mean? Just with the climate of the pandemic and in a pre-COVID mindset that you kind of think that, you know what I mean, that our work is not essential, but it is essential. And, you know what I mean, the Black Lives Matter movement that we've been seeing nationally and locally is evidence of why we're all essential and why we're all essential to building a movement, to building community, and to uplifting each other. And I'm really proud of a lot of the other girls that are Shiva members or members of the Black Rose Initiative, that are going on the trip, for getting out there, being active themselves, protesting, leading, organizing. And, you know, I think for me, the biggest takeaway from our local Black Lives Matter movement and just revolution that's been going on here in Milwaukee is just Black joy and Black pride and energy, and just having not just the mobilization part of movement building, but having the real energy behind it and the real faith and confidence and belief, and you know what I mean, seeing kids smiling, seeing the murals going up, seeing, you know what I mean, art and flowers and new businesses opening and people, you know what I mean, trying new things like
we have
singing online and all kind of things, you know what I mean, this is truly a time for everybody to kind of jump towards the things that they really want and to listen to that.
We have to talk about that mural.
Yeah.
Because you were featured along with many other Black members in our community that have been at the forefront of the movement for Milwaukee. Tell me what that's like.
Yeah. For me personally, I really definitely feel blessed, definitely feel grateful. I definitely feel seen in terms of my work, and that I'm not just working alone as an independent person or as an independent advocate, but working and that people are and that I've been impacting people even more than I knew that I was myself.
In many ways, it really shows you that you're a part of something so much bigger.
Absolutely.
And I feel all of us, particularly you feel it, and it must motivate you. It's something you know it's your purpose to do here, hey?
Yeah. My mom is a minister. Her name is Evangelist Veronica Harding, and she raised me to believe that no life is good or prosperous or complete without community and without being active in that community and without being not necessarily what you get yourself out of community, but in terms of reciprocating that and paying that forward and being able to be a blessing to others, that's what you need to live a good life. And you know what I mean? It doesn't matter how much money you make or your, you know what I mean, capitalistic status in life. But those are the things that matters, and the way you spend your time and how you treat people, and you know what I mean, and sticking to your path and your morals are the things that matter, and not how people see us, where we should and shouldn't be, where we tell ourselves and count ourselves out of the spaces to be and not be, and out of opportunities. And really, since the Pride March, for me, that's like really just how I've been viewing things, is the things that I feel like are holding me back, I just can't allow them to hold me back no more.
Absolutely. I have to ask you, a lot has happened over these last few months.
Yes. I feel like a different person.
Yeah.
Not like I'm not the same person, but I feel like life pre-COVID, like I feel like that was like a lifetime ago. Like I feel like it was so long ago. That was only like 4 months ago. This is crazy.
So much has transpired.
So much has happened for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you feel there's been change that has come from this since?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's been a lot going on. Are things changing because of it?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us are wondering that right now. And you being at the forefront, you gotta tell us, are you seeing these things? We wanna know from you.
I will say again that for me, I think the thing that most needed to change in terms of Black queer community, in terms of Black and brown queer community, and Black lives and Black liberation, is for us to have had that movement in our lifetime to reinstill that energy and that faith and that motivation and get everybody involved. And so in that way, and in that being a thing that's for us and by us, I do believe that things are changing, and I do see and have hope for, you know what I mean, the boundless potential of our youth and of our youth leaders, and even kids that, you know what I mean, like they don't know what we're talking about really, but they out there processing with their parents,
and they're absorbing,
and they're seeing and they're absorbing a whole different fabric than what we were fed as children.
Yeah.
And so for me, those are the things that are definitely palpably every day, one person at a time changing. And so, you know what I mean? And that's God. That's an amazing thing. But in terms of our policies, in terms of this election, in terms of, you know what I mean, policing and incarceration, I'm gonna say no. I've not seen nearly enough adequate changes. You know what I mean? We need the murals, and we need the representation. We need the, you know what I mean, the Black Lives Matter avenue, but what we really need is policy change. And our city and Wisconsin as a state has one of the highest, in Black communities, has one of the highest, per capita incarceration ratios. I don't know no Black man that I grew up with in my childhood and in my life that didn't interact with the prison system, that didn't interact with being on parole, that didn't interact with having done something or not at a time in their life and then having to pay for it the rest of their life. And you know what I mean? How can we be expecting them as Black men that are facing policing and incarceration in a different way than the rest of us, and how that impacts families and how that supports a culture that's anti-women, and how it supports rape culture, how it supports, you know what I mean, domestic violence and abuse within our homes, and how those outside things, whether that's street culture or violence or police violence, comes back into the home with the people that are incarcerated. And you know what I mean, at this point, I just personally feel like you're not even incarcerating the people that's in there no more. You incarcerating whole families, whole communities, you're incarcerating children. Yeah. When you're sending them there, we can do something better with the money that's spent to keep people in jail. We can do something better with the money that's spent for police. We can do something better with the people that are employed as police they can do something different than the way that they serve now. Like, I think that we just exist in a place where we never challenge ourselves to think far enough because we feel it's so far away. But they can be social workers. They can be of service and be just as valuable in another way than just being a militarized response to a crime that has already happened. You can't send a gun into a community where people have been shot already.
And I think on top of that, a lot of people had the misconception that it was just the police that are the problem, and they are. Mm-hmm. That is a problem. There's definitely a problem there, but it's more than that. Absolutely. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize it's systemic.
Absolutely. It's so systemic that all we try to do is separate them and address one thing at a time, and pick and choose and this and that, and this community can work in this way, this community can work in that way, and that they never connect. When are we going to realize that the successful times in our culture when we've had movement building are the times when everyone gets involved in the same way, and everyone has that visibility to get involved, like everyone is aware of the same things, everyone is aware of our history, of where we're currently at, of where we can be in the future, and like the steps and the individual things that it would take to get there. I did the Black Women's Liberation March for Juneteenth, and Black people were enslaved for almost 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. And the Emancipation Proclamation came out, and that's just because obviously because of slavery, they weren't allowed to have like free communication. Mm-hmm. But it's the same thing in all of our movement building. We have to get all of our people on the same page. That page is uncomfortable. That page ain't cute. That page is not having no conversation that you're gonna want to have, no matter what your walk of life is.
Yeah. And even sometimes,
but it's one we can have.
Sometimes even we disagree.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Absolutely. And it's one that we can have, and we have to have it, and we have to get on the same page and start making our movements and our issues as big and as loud and as bold and beautiful and powerful and strong as they can be.
And that's the beauty of us too. We all have so much to bring to the table.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna figure it out together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And our community, our queer of color community, we know that because that's how we survive. And Black women know that because that's how they survive. And that's how they feed families and keep communities together. Like that's how we as cis and Black trans women keep whole communities together.
And I've said this before, Black women have been such the backbone and heart of this movement. And I've said it before, and we've all said it again. I'll say it again. Without Black women, this could have easily been about revenge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just, you know what I mean?
Yo, you guys brought us home.
Just bringing the rage. But, you know what I mean? And we have the right to our rage. We have the right to our guilt. We have the right to our anger, our depression, our anxiety. We have the right to those things, but you can't live in that space forever. No. You just can't. And that is why it's essential to center us and have queer Black and brown people and cis and trans women, Black women be a part of the movement is because this is what we do. We're healers, we're nurturers, we're caretakers. This is what we do. And once, you know what I mean, here, like in all of the cities, once the rioting is over, then what does your movement do? You know what I mean? Once the initial anger, once the initial protests that weren't organized just because of the amount of time that they had are over, you know what I'm saying? It takes community to be able to continue that and amplify that. Even our march, the March with Pride March, that was like 3,000 something people. Yeah. But because it was only one day, you know what I'm saying, the amplification of that extremely big showing and that extremely powerful message, you know what I mean, is minimized by it being in the humbug of everything else that was happening nationwide, as opposed to...
Well, can I build on that? I have to say, and this is my experience, I'm not trying to say this is everyone's experience, but for me, growing up Black and gay, there's sometimes the black community weren't as accepting of gay people as opposed.
Absolutely.
And I feel like now when we have a pride focusing on Black Lives Matter, and then the black community being more aware of saying, hey, our gay brothers and sisters and lesbian and trans, we need them too. We all need each other. I feel like that's something we haven't had it like this before. This way.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
And even in the civil rights movement and in Stonewall, in the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King called on women leaders, faith leaders, youth leaders, and queer leaders to be able to mobilize their communities. And in Stonewall, you know what I mean, Black and Latino trans women started Stonewall and threw the first brick.
Over the years, in our lifetime particularly, we've seen the gay community, I'm going to say LGBT community. I say gay community because I'm old school. But they were marginalized back in the day and very put off. The police were very much against them. Similar ways to how the black community is. But we've made so much progress in the LGBT community. Do you feel that the black community is going to get that same due and justice when it comes to that? Because when it comes to both of those, I feel the LGBT community took off so much with progress, and we're still, in the black community, we're still tugging to get up there. What are your thoughts on that?
Any of the pulling apart of our issues, any of it, I think is just not the right frame of the question.
Yeah.
The question and the issue is systemic oppression. It is not whose community makes more progress. Ain't none of us made enough progress. Ain't none of us okay. Ain't none of us where we need to be. I'm not. I am not. I'm not, you know? And so what I mean by that is it again, it's gonna take all of us. It's gonna take us working, you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna win Obamacare or, you know what I'm saying, big policy around healthcare with just prescription drugs. You're not gonna just win that with HIV development. You're not gonna just win that with cancer. But if you can connect all of those things together and make that voice be so loud that the people in power can't ignore it, then you can produce change. I don't think that the work ever stops, or that people like myself, or, you know what I mean, like yourself, or artists, or, you know what I mean, activists, or teachers even, or whatever it is, in our lives, like, I don't think that ever stops. But I think that the movements stop when our leadership stops. I think the movements stop when our leaders' voices are snuffed out, or when they're like blacklisted or canceled even. And then there's no one left to pick up the pieces. And so we just have to make sure that with this movement, with what we're seeing, that doesn't happen until we're done. Don't stop until we have all of the things that we want. It isn't a question of, can we just get something done about policing? Can we just get something done about incarceration? No, we demand that everything be done in this generation right here. Like if we have to decide that. I don't have no another generation to wait for them to stop killing Black trans women the way that they're killing them. I don't have another generation to wait for people to realize that trans women are women, and that, you know what I mean, our healthcare is essential, and that, you know what I mean, healthcare is a right for all of us, and not something that should be attached to money at all.
It's good. I didn't want to make it seem like I was comparing the two groups. I just wanted to say that, like, in the gay community, we saw that achieve a great place. Do we know it's possible for this group, therefore we're gonna make this one and this one. That's what I was getting at.
I think people take, when we do get our wins, I think people take the wins too hard. You know, like how there's a sore loser, like number 45. That's a sore loser, right? But there's also a sore winner. And what I mean by that is not something like minimizing anything from past movements, but just that we as a people, like the gay, like marriage equality is a perfect example of this. They got that. And so they let the energy and the vocalization and the visibility that they had at that time die down.
You think we got complacent? Is that it, maybe?
I won't say we got complacent. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't of decision-making age or of decision-making power necessarily at marriage equality. We were still like in high school.
That's true,
But, you know what I mean? So I won't say necessarily we, but the people that are accountable to these issues and these problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What I'm saying is Joe Biden was ahead of the whole country as someone in a seat of power to say that marriage should be for everyone.
Yeah.
Something so simple, something that in his life as a cis straight man, as a cis straight white man with money, that if he wasn't running for president right now, it wouldn't make a difference to him or his career. You get what I'm saying? It would still maybe be like a staple of his career. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't his issue. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't no life or death or, you know what I mean, where I'm gonna live or not issue for him.
And I think that reflects to all
of us. But it's just putting that responsibility and getting that actual action out of the people that we elect into our seats of power.
And that's not even just the seats of power up there in the political game. That comes to all of us leaders, even at the state level.
Absolutely. And even in our communities and just in our queer community.
We have to be able to think beyond just us.
Yeah. Yes. And one thing, I kind of alluded to it earlier, one thing like I like to say about like the ladies in Sheba, and just black trans women and just black women, like again, we're doing the goddess work of holding families together and putting food on the table every day. We are generations away from when men were the primary caretaker in the household. We're generations away from when women couldn't have jobs or pursue different fields or pursue their dreams equally. We are generations away from, you know what I'm saying, some of the things that are holding us back. Like the progress is being made, but women still make less on the dollar.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And women like myself, if it's not STI or sex health prevention and advocacy, or it's not trans affirming health or fashion or retail or drag, you know what I'm saying? We're left to think that, you know what I'm saying, our worth is defined by our bodies and defined by the way that our cis heteronormative mainstream culture sees us. And so, you know, I think it's just time to wake up and get involved and realize that your voice is as essential to making that outcome happen as anyone else's.
Now more than ever. It has been such a pleasure talking to you about all these things.
Thank you.
And I know we talked about this before, but just being an amazing, strong, bold, unapologetic, queer woman of color, please don't stop doing what you're doing. You make a difference to so many people. In the days where if it ever feels like it doesn't matter, you matter. You do so much, and you walk a road, you create a road where people can follow and don't have to follow that one path that was there before.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.